Chapter 480, The 9 Steps of the Setting Sun. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. The blood devil image of Paige was about 10 meters tall. It looked extremely ferocious and overlapped his body like a huge bloody ghost shadow. Paige jumped up and immediately rushed in front of Zhang Yuochen and Aoxinyan. He fully concentrated his genuine chi and struck out one palm with all his strength. Driven by Paige's power, the blood devil image also struck out a palm, which formed a huge spiritual blood handprint. From the viewpoint of Zhang Yuochen and Aoxinyan, the handprint of the blood devil image was falling out of midair like a bloody, 5-finger-shaped cloud. Pow! Both Zhang Yuochen and Aoxinyan flew backward at the same time. With a shriek, Aoxinyan spat out blood and fell off in the distance, badly hurt. Zhang Yuochen's strength was greater than that of Aoxinyan. He could still stand as he landed stably on the ground, but he also suffered a slight injury. Ascendio. Aoxinyan endured the pain of her injury and leapt with both legs, flying up to more than 33 meters high. She held the sword, broke through the air, and stabbed toward Paige. "Come back now," Zhang Yuochen shouted. How could Aoxinyan even be a match for Paige? Her rushing forward to challenge Paige face to face was no different from begging for death. However, the sword movement had already been demonstrated by Aoxinyan and could not be withdrawn again. Paige gave an evil grin and strode forward. However, they did not know when Paige had put 5 black iron rings on the 5 fingers of his right hand. The iron rings were called bloody golden rings, which were cast by extremely cold black gold. A bloody golden ring was a 10th level genuine martial arm, and 5 bloody golden rings were a set. If the inscriptions on the 5 bloody golden rings were triggered at the same time, they could erupt with power that was comparable to the power of an 11th level genuine martial arm. Although Aoxinyan held a holy sword, she could not exert its true power because of her low cultivation. Moving his footsteps to the left, Paige easily avoided the holy sword that was struck out by Aoxinyan. Then, he triggered the inscriptions on the 5 bloody golden rings and suddenly struck out one fist, aiming at Aoxinyan's chest. Aoxinyan immediately mobilized her genuine chi, and the glazed crystal that was infused into her wrist inspired the power of protection. Pow! The power of the 5 bloody golden rings smashed that layer of the power of protection into light spots. Paige's fist solidly hit the chest of Aoxinyan. Snap! The sounds of bones breaking came from Aoxinyan's body as she trembled and was thrown upward like a loose kite. Her chest was pierced by the 5 bloody golden rings, leaving 5 huge bloody holes. Not only were 3 of her ribs broken, but also her 5 internal organs and 6 hollow organs suffered serious injuries. Aoxinyan was nearly semi-wrecked. Only warriors who have reached the fish dragon realm can truly exert the full power of the holy sword. It is simply a waste for a warrior in the heaven realm to wield the holy sword. Paige picked up the blue water dragon patterned sword and stroked the sword's body, which was crystal clear and transparent like jade. He admired it, saying, "What a good sword." The blue water dragon patterned sword immediately uttered a dragon's roar when Paige waved it. A holy sword was enough to make numerous monks in the fish dragon realm risk their lives to compete for it, and was enough to create a disaster of killing an entire clan. For a monk, a holy sword was the most precious treasure. Therefore, Paige was excited upon obtaining the blue water dragon patterned sword. After that, Paige's eyes sank. He waved the holy sword in his hand and chopped toward the neck of Aoxinyan to kill her for good. However, Zhang Yuochen quickly interfered. He struck the Abyss Ancient Sword out and lifted it. The Abyss Ancient Sword collided with the blue water dragon patterned sword and warded off Paige's killing movement. Paige held the blue water dragon patterned sword and took a step back. He jeered and said, "If I were you, I would escape when I was about to kill her." Zhang Yuochen stood upright, holding his sword horizontally in his hands. He showed a leisurely smile and said, "If I want to leave, I could do it any time. You can't stop me." "Really? You're so confident with your own strength," Paige said with a laugh. Zhang Yuochen looked to the side and glanced at Blackie, who was nearby. He said, "Blackie, take her away first." Swoosh! Blackie's body flashed and rushed over to the side of Aoxinyan. It looked at her and said, "What a troublemaker." After that, it grabbed Aoxinyan's clothes, hugged her with its 2 claws, and quickly rushed off into the distance. "If you want to escape, You need to ask for my permission. Page snorted and strode forward, demonstrating a kind of brilliant martial technique of bodily movement. Moving 33 meters with each step, he chased after Blackie. No matter if it was Aoxinian or Zhang Yuochen, their identities were very significant. If Page were to allow Aoxinian to flee back to Saint Academy, he would only be able to hide and even would not dare to return to Kunlun's field in the days to come, even if he were to obtain the Dragon Pearl. Therefore, Page had to root out and kill both Aoxinian and Zhang Yuochen in the primitive world of the wooden spirit. Page was so fast that he was within 10 steps of Blackie in almost an instant. Zhang Yuochen demonstrated space moving and appeared in front of Page with just a flash of his body. He stabbed at Page's neck with his sword. Sword breath emanated from the sword body and turned into dozens of sword shadows. They stabbed at the same time just as if they were dozens of swords. It's so fast. Did he practice the bodily movement martial technique of the ghost level? Page had been putting his attention on Blackie and Aoxinian, therefore, he did not notice the subtle wave within the space, nor did he notice what Zhang Yuochen demonstrated was space moving. He thought that it was just a bodily movement martial technique. Page's battle experience was rich, so he was very calm. Facing the unexpected attack from Zhang Yuochen, he quickly twitched his body and brought circles of waves of genuine chi, which was like a whirlpool, and he evaded the attack. However, one of the sword breaths still went through Page's neck, leaving a light bloody mark. Zhang Yuochen cast a glance at Page and was a little surprised. He thought, no wonder he is the master who is in the top 50. His reaction is so fast that it can even exceed many monks in the fish dragon realm. Therefore, even if I demonstrated space crack, I am not sure that I would be able to hurt him. Not to mention Page, but even those warriors who were able to enter the top 1000 on the heaven board, which one of them was not a sheer genius. Like Page, not only was his qualification high, but he also had a firm will. One never knew how many storms he had endured. It was impossible for anyone to use tricks to plot against him. In just that instant, Blackie had already taken away Aoxinian and disappeared without a trace. Page touched the bloody marks on his neck and coldly snorted. He said, "The realm of heart integrated into sword is so terrific that it could hurt me. Unfortunately, the difference between us is so big that you won't have any chance today. They've left and now so should I." Zhang Yuochen did not keep fighting as he knew that he was no match for Page. He immediately demonstrated the bodily movement of the shadow of the Royal Wind Dragon and took 9 steps. One step was equal to 500 meters, so he was standing 4,500 meters away after only 9 steps. However, Page was also fast. Page cast the 9-star steps and followed closely behind Zhang Yuochen. After 9 steps, Page caught up with him. 9 steps of the setting Sunday. Zhang Yuochen looked back and recognized the bodily movement that Page had demonstrated. The 9 steps of the setting sun was also a kind of bodily movement martial technique in the superior class of the spiritual stage. It was a unique skill of the Confucian sect in the central region, which was almost the same as the shadow of the Royal Wind Dragon that Zhang Yuochen practiced. As one of the 3 sects, the Confucian sect was as great as the Thousand Buddhas sect and the Chi sect. They were all inherited from ancient times and their disciples had spread all over the world. From the 3 sects of martial arts that were all originated, various academic schools spread all over the world. That 9 steps of the setting sun could be a unique skill because of its power. There was nothing more powerful than it under the bodily movement martial technique at the ghost level, and even the shadow of the Royal Wind Dragon was slightly inferior compared to it. As for the bodily movement martial techniques above the ghost level, they were close to a unique skill, which could fly into the sky and walk under the ground. Only monks in Fish Dragon Realm could demonstrate it. Although Page mastered the unique skill of the Confucian sect, his behavior did not appear to be like that of a successor of the Confucian sect. Zhang Yuochen was doubtful. Although the shadow of the Royal Wind Dragon could be on a par with the 9 steps of the setting sun, Page's cultivation was more profound than that of Zhang Yuochen. Therefore, they were getting closer and closer. Zhang Yuochen could feel the strong scent of blood emanating from Page. "Zhang Yuochen, you can't get away." Page inspired the inscriptions on his 5 bloody golden rings as he suddenly stepped on the ground fiercely and rushed out like an arrow that was released from a bow. His speed suddenly increased and he struck with one fist toward Zhang Yuochen's back. Space Domain. Zhang Yuochen released the Space Domain and demonstrated space warps. When Page's fist was about to hit on the back of Zhang Yuochen, the space suddenly liquefied and twisted to suck Page's fist into it. What happened? Page's face darkened as he noticed that something was wrong. Shwa. Zhang Yuochen moved one step horizontally and appeared on Page's left side, 3 steps away. Now that Zhang Yuochen had decided to use space power, he should continue and try to kill him with one strike before Page realized it. Space crack. Zhang Yuochen stretched out a forefinger and quickly slid in front of Page. Space was cut open like a water curtain by Zhang Yuochen's finger, revealing a huge crack more than 6 meters long. Page felt a threatening death. His whole body seemed to be shocked by electricity and it quickly shrank. Although he was 1.8 meters in height, he instantly reduced his body down by 10 times and became a dwarf. Page stepped in midair and was shot out like a ball. Swoosh. Falling more than 30 meters away, a cracking sound emanated from Page's body and it expanded again to return to its original size. However, his left shoulder was still hit by the space crack, leaving a flat wound that was bleeding. If Page had reacted slower, his whole left arm would have been swallowed by the space crack. Zhang Yuochen stared at Page with surprise in his eyes. He asked, "Who are you actually?" In the martial world, there was indeed a martial technique called bone contraction. However, no warrior could shrink his body by 10 times no matter how powerful he was. If a warrior practiced the 9th change in the fish dragon realm, the glazed treasured body, he could increase and reduce his body by 10 times. However, Page's cultivation was still far below the level of the glazed treasured body.